Okay, so my name is Brandy Loveland, and I am the new CEO for Harvest House Buffalo. So, comprehensively, with all the partnerships and everything, I think I've worked here for about 5 years. So it was a really interesting journey because it started out as a partnership with another nonprofit organization, really bringing forth a new program into the community that focused on systems change, particularly with workforce development, really working with um, Harvest House as a partner providing support for the community, working with a community for profit agency to bring equitable workforce development, and then working with the organization that I was employed with at the time to really meld those two together and create a program and work with everybody to make that happen. So that evolved over time to, something bigger. When I first started, or now? So my job now is to really work to make sure that the community is getting what they need. A big part of my job is to really talk to the community and work with the community to find out what they need and to partner with them in a intentional way. Really, not just asking them questions, but also having them to be part of Harvest House as board members, having them to be part of Harvest House and sharing their ideas and helping to, do focus groups to develop new programs for the community, and really to communicate with me to let me know what is happening out there and what is, really needed, and also how do things work? How do they really work in the community? Because you can start any kind of program, but if you're not getting the community input on if it's feasible for them, if it's accessible, then it's not going to be a successful program, no matter how great the idea is. On top of that, it's just making sure that I have enough funding and support coming in to make sure that I can help make those things happen. That's the second part, really thinking about, how much does this kind of work cost? For instance, with our partnership with the Buffalo Bills, they're helping us to get the resources that we need to continue to provide food and nutritional support through our Food as Medicine program on a weekly basis. And then finally, I guess it's just really making sure that I'm creating an atmosphere that supports the staff, that supports our partners, and that really makes this something that is benefiting everybody, not just the community, the partners that we serve, and also our staff. What do I want to be when I grew up? Okay, so when I was growing up, when I was really little, I wanted to be the a teacher, ballerina who was also the president. Like that was my dream. Don't ask me how it was going to happen. It was going to happen in some way, shape, or form in my mind. Honestly, it came organically. I don't really know how I totally ended up in this space. I can tell you what the catalyst was, though. When I was a young girl, I was part of the cohort who experienced the LA riots. So I grew up in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. And, I knew firsthand what it was like to lose everything, you know. And I think our community was feeling that loss beforehand. They say that, riots are the voice of the voiceless. And so, because there were no resources, there were no access at a time where there was a lot of drug access and everything else, people were feeling helpless. And then what happened, with police brutality and Rodney King, that just sent people over the edge. Seeing that, made me want to do more in life. It made me want to do more for my community. In fact, it's still a dream of mine to one day give a gift back to my community in the future. From that time, I didn't know what social work really was. When I first started, I was thinking, like everybody else, when you think about social work, you're thinking about a person who was maybe a person who was in foster care, who was in child protective services and took kids, which was a very narrow view. When I started getting into social work, I learned more. When I was in high school, I had an internship with a wonderful nonprofit organization called the Brotherhood Crusade. And I was going to downtown business magnet high school, was a magnet school in Los Angeles. And I thought that the road ahead for me was to start a business. I didn't know to be part of a nonprofit. There were other avenues. I thought it was just you had to be an entrepreneur. But when I worked at the Brotherhood Crusade, it taught me a lot of different things, a lot of different skills. The founder of the Brotherhood Crusade, his name was Danny Bakewell, and he did such amazing things for the community. I mean, he was not just a person who was speaking to the community and providing programs and services, but he was also working with, legislators and advocating for things. I remember on any given day, you could see him coming in and he was having somebody to give us food because we helped them start a business. And then the next moment he was out and he was protesting with the railroad workers for better wages and pay. So he was always really active in the community. He had his ears to the ground. And so did his team. They gave me a job. It started out as summer youth, but they hired me for the year to actually do real intentional work, bringing partners and supports to make a difference. And I was only in high school, and that really sparked an interest in me. When I was in college, I went to Syracuse. I was undecided. I was undecided for 2 whole years. I did not know what I wanted to do. I went to downtown business magnet. I mentioned that, and I learned a lot. I, got wonderful experiences. Like I took college accounting at USC, which was pretty cool. I was in the Academy of Finance, but I realized I hated corporate America. I hated the cutthroatness of it. I hated, it wasn't what I thought, from when I worked at the Brotherhood Crusade. It was really a place where I didn't want to be. Looking at the employees and the staff, they weren't happy. I mean, they were making money, but, they weren't happy. We weren't doing things also that were helpful. Like I interned at San Juan Bank, California, and it was really a hard atmosphere for me, but really eye-opening. So when I went to college, I was like, I got to do something. And it turned out I was helping friends and being supportive of a lot of friends in college. And one of my friends said, "Hey, Brandy, you should think about being a social worker." And I said, "Absolutely not." and It turned out when I spoke to my guidance counselor, he said, "Maybe you should, because a lot of people are saying that you're really helpful and you could do good things." So I audited a couple classes, and it turned out that I did social work. It was a hard go, because I was I didn't know how to get from being that micro level social work, working with people face to face, and moving up to the CEO level. Um, but it was a great experience getting here, because at every level where I worked, at every organization I worked at, I got to see a different piece that was important for me to have the job that I have right now. Being able to connect with the community and build rapport, doing case management and going into people's homes and seeing how they live, and working with them on their terms, working with kids who were pins, who were coming from the justice system, who are reintegrating in community, seeing how to work with their families and get support, working with grassroots nonprofit organizations in the community to try to build better systems, at a meso level, and advocating for change. And then, working on the macro level, trying to work with businesses to change systems. All of it, work together to give me a better idea of how I could best help community and really be true and authentic to every area needed to be successful, because you can't just work on one level. You have to think of all of them to be able to truly support all the people who we support at Harvest House. In 2026, I guess I'm most excited about just testing the waters and seeing what I can do. It's exciting to be able to be put in a place where you can actually start enacting some of the things that you've been dreaming about. I think it's most exciting for me is, starting this process as a CEO, working in real time with community at this level. It allows me to really see how the work that I'm doing could be adaptable, how it could be done in any community, rural communities, suburban communities, urban communities, how the work that I'm doing is really impactful on several levels. And maybe that means that, I can actually achieve, the goal of helping more communities in the future be successful and build social capital and build generational wealth and break, the cycles of hopelessness and helplessness. I think that's what's most exciting for me. I guess looking back, thinking about what I would say to my younger self, maybe travel more. um, I would tell myself to take more chances, and maybe I would have said to research a little more. I find myself as a LMSW working with a lot of, social work interns who come here on a, regular basis, and they feel like they're stuck, especially some of those macro social workers. Because even when I was in Syracuse, even when I was at UB, they talk about the micro level, they talk about private practice, they're moving forward in different areas, but social work is so adaptable. I think it's one of the only professions where you have to know everything to be able to be successful in it. You need to know about trends to work with children. You need to know about new drugs coming out. You need to know about what's going on in government, because it changes policy, it changes programs that are affecting people. So you really have to learn how to adjust and adapt. And that makes you valuable in any arena, in the for-profit sector and nonprofit and government. And I think, telling the younger generation, the future generation about that is important, and telling them to not limit yourself. And I guess I would tell myself that don't just limit yourself to what you've learned. Seek more and challenge yourself to grow in different ways.